Welcome to Entrepreneurship SBU408D. My name is Felicia Frida Aiden Aqua. I'll be taking you through Entrepreneurship and Small Business Management Unit 1. Specifically, we're going to look at Session 4, talking about entrepreneurship and the environment. By the end of this session, you should be able to list the various elements in the entrepreneurial environment. You should be able to explain the factors that influence the entrepreneurial process. So when we're looking at the business environment, we're looking out for all those factors that influence or are influenced by the business and its activities. They can also be said to be those factors that affect and are affected by the business and its activity. Now, these factors or these things, influences, they could come from within the business, which we term as internal business environment, or they could come from outside the business, which we call external business environment. We are supposed to note that when it comes to the internal business environment, these factors tend to be more controllable, and so sometimes we call it a controllable business environment, whereas the external business environment tends to be a bit hard to control, and so we tend to call it the uncontrollable business environment. It can further be split into two. The external environment can also be split into the tax environment and then the general environment. The things in the tax environment usually are a bit nearer to the business, and so for them, you can have a little way of taking advantage of the opportunities and then minimizing the threats that come with it, like your suppliers, like your competitors, your distributors. You realize that you can find backup or support for it. But things like those in the general environment, like our social issues, political issues, legal issues, they are things which you cannot easily control. You have no control over them. So let's go to look out for these factors. Like I made mention earlier, internal factors are those which stem from within the business. As such, they can be controlled. These include the philosophy and values of management, the mission of the business, the organization's objectives, policies, all the resources within the business. These can easily be controlled by the business. However, when we go to the external factors, you can't control the economic issues in there. We've seen inflation, we've seen exchange rate, and all of these things just moving helter skelter. You can't do anything about it. No single business can go and then change the exchange rate or work with it. So sometimes for these ones, they give us opportunities or threats, and so you can take advantage of the opportunities, or you can put in measures to minimize the impact of the threats that come with the external environment. So let's say you're an important business, and what you have to do when there's a lot of inflation, there's a lot of changes in the exchange rate, what you may end up doing is that you may want to hedge, or you may have to look for other ways of working to check the exchange rate impact on you. It could be that you may have to keep some dollars or something and work directly, so have a dollar account or something and buy directly in there. We also have technological environment. Yes, technologies are the things that make life very easy for businesses. Technology is what is making your life easy as a student right now, because you are now at the comfort of your home, your school, your office, and you are learning as well with this video in here. So technologies are also very essential in there. But can you control technology? No. You realize that day in, day out, new technologies come in and they come at a cost. These businesses will save a lot to buy it, and if you don't take care, you may not even be able to use it properly. If you don't take care, by the time you buy the technology, a more recent one has come, and what you've bought becomes obsolete. So technological environment is also in our external business environment. We also have social environment. Sometimes people call it the socio-cultural or social-demographic environment. A lot of things go into the social environment. The lifestyle of our customers, we can't do much about it. We can't even have much to do about the demographics. Can you influence or change the number of males and females in the country? The number of children, adults, young adults in the country? Can you change the lifestyle pattern of people? No. These are all variables in the social environment which we cannot control. However, we can take advantage of some opportunities in there, or we can minimize the threats that come along with it. Another is the political environment. Day in, day out, every 4 years in Ghana, we vote for elections, and you realize that we have parties that believe in socialism, you have parties that believe in capitalism. So you realize that as a small business, if a party comes into power and they believe that government is supposed to do everything, you realize that as a private business, some things will not go well for you. If a party that has who believes that individual businesses should thrive and they come in, you realize that it has also a different impact on your business. So the political environment and political stability matters a lot, and these are things we can't control. People in Russia and Ukraine, I'm sure the businesses there didn't really anticipate for this war in such a time like this. However, it has come, and what can they do? They can just minimize the impact these would have upon them. Some businesses may be closed at the moment. These are all things that happen in the political environment. We now have the legal environment. Businesses are governed by laws, bylaws, and a lot of enactments they must follow. As a business, in Ghana, you're supposed to do your tax returns, you're supposed to abide by the laws of the government. So you have to obey the laws and things set up. There are bylaws, there are enactments which the business would have to follow. If you do not follow, you know that you could end up with the various accompanying punishments and all these ones. And so as a business, you can't go into an environment, or you can't work without getting yourself acquainted with the laws of that place. And so in Ghana, there are laws. In Ghana as a whole, there are laws even governing the type of industry you are. There are even laws when it comes to where you find yourself, even in the communities you find yourself. There are some bylaws as well which you may have to follow, and these things in the external business environment are the things we said you can't. So we can't look at the environmental factors without looking at the competitive environment, because the business environment is actually very much competitive. And we're saying that when we're looking out for the competitive environment, don't forget that once you start doing business, there are going to be other businesses which were already doing what you're doing, or either directly or indirectly, or you have some who also would come into the business, come into that industry, come and do the same thing you are doing, or just vary it just a little. And so it is very key to look out for the word competitive environment. In our competitive environment, we need to look out for even the rivalry among existing competitors. And you know that once we are all doing the same thing, there's going to be a lot of competition, even for resources, even for customers, because we're going to use the same resources, we're going to target the same customers, we're going to use virtually the same processes in there. So these are things you'd have to consider in there and put in place strategies. If you realize that they are using the same thing, you may have to change. Do something that is going to let you stand up against your other competitors. You also need to look out for the bargaining power of buyers. These are serious things in the competitive environment. If you realize that buyers have a lot of power, usually, especially when they form associations or group buyer associations, they can be very, very dangerous or disastrous to the business, and you may have to put in strategies to be able to handle them. Bargaining power of suppliers also matter, because at the end of the day, these are the same people to give you what? The resources you need to put into your business to make most of, because you need your suppliers to give you the raw materials which you are going to process into your what? Product or your service. And so these people play a very critical role in there. Mind you, they may not be the only people who are giving you that resource. They may be supplying it to others as well. And so you need to be able to what? Have strategies in place to handle these as well. Then there's also the threat of new entrants. You should be able to check and know how your business is and the environment in which you find yourself. For some businesses, it is very easy for other businesses to come in. It could be that it is a very simple business. The structures in there, you don't need so much. It could be that regulations in there are few. It could be that even the money to start such businesses are what? Very, very minimum. And so if you are selling, or if you're doing food and all those things, realize that sometimes it is easy for people to come in, but for things like the telcos and things that need a lot of money, the mining, you realize that there are very few words entrants in there. So depending on the industry or sector you find yourself, and then you see how great the impact or the threat of these entrants may be. Then there's also the threat of substitute product or services. For some things you produce, you realize that it's easy for people to come up with better product offerings or better service offerings than what you are doing. You'd have to look out for these, because the competitive environment, if you're able to look out for all these factors well and you're able to address them properly, you'd realize that your business will be able to what? Stand up even in the competition and not die out. But if you don't look out for these things properly, your business will die out in the competition. So the variables in the new venture creation, if you want to start a new business, there are the entrepreneur who is at the center of it. His traits and aspirations is going to what? Impact it. We have the environment, and we said that you're going to have what? Resources and things coming from the environment. You have to look at issues about what? Competition, like we just looked at. You have to look out for even the various environmental factors like the legal and economic issues. You have to look out for the market you even want to what? Go into. These are very important. And you also have to look out for what? The organization. When we're looking at even the form of business ownership to go in for. Would you want to do the business alone as a sole proprietor? Would you want to partner with someone, 2 or more people? Would you want to start up a company, which is what? An artificial body or a separate legal entity which can sue and be sued? Would you want to even look out for the future expansion issues in there? Would you want to do franchise? Would you want to do joint ventures as you are growing the business? You even have to look out for succession planning, continuity. In Ghana, it is sad that a lot of our businesses do not start succession planning early. They wait till the sole proprietor or the owner is about dying before they end up what? Looking for who to hand over the baton to. These are all issues you'd have to look out for in the organization. And then you have to look at the process as well. You need to make sure that you identify the business opportunity, and we need to meet the startup challenges, commence the business and run it for you to see how it really is and meet all the expectations of society and government. So in summary, what we looked out for in this session is that we explained the environmental factors, and we said these are factors that influence the business or are influenced by the business, and we're saying that this could be either internal or external. We looked at the external environment, where we looked at the social, legal, economic, political, and technological factors, otherwise called the SLEPT factors or the PESEL factors. And we looked at how these activities actually affect the business. Thank you.